Hello, welcome to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. I don't know how many people are going to be here tonight. It's a Thanksgiving tonight, some Thanksgiving day. So, if you can come to this live streaming, that's great. I'm not going to probably do that long. I've been cooking whole day today and pretty tired. So, I'll probably do until 10 o'clock. So, and if there's any request or the topic that I can talk about, I'm happy to go with that. All right, so this is the live streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. This is not a lecture, this is not a tutorial, this is not a webinar. So I will not teach something specifically here. If you have any technical questions, if you have any questions about techniques, I have videos on this channel already, so please take a look at that. Yes, again, today is the Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, not dinner. I keep saying dinner because I was cooking dinner. Today is the Thanksgiving day, so I'll take it easy and yeah, just enjoy the stitching for the rest of the time. I hope that the mic is going on. Good. All right, I will switch the camera. Oh. Cooking is one thing. We don't really celebrate Thanksgiving because we're not we're not from here. At the same time, it's kind of nice day to hang out with family. My wife doesn't go to work. My daughter is here, so my daughter and I cooked together while she was resting. So I think it's kind of good, relaxing day. Yet for me, it's more like cooking day. We don't eat turkey because my wife is vegetarian. So it's like, not really the Thanksgiving dinner, but more like family dinner together. I hope you're having a good time. You had a good time, and some of the family might fall asleep already. In that case, I hope you can join our stitching too. Let me check where I left. I complete everything. Okay. Hello, Lily-san. Thank you so much for coming. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. It's kind of interesting, but my daughter goes to bed at 8:45, no matter what. So even today, she had to go. Probably the New Year's Eve is probably the only one exception. She might not be happy about it, but I don't think I'm a long sleeper. But my wife is very long sleep and she needs a lot of sleep. And without the sleep, that's really bad. So it is very important for us to have enough, like a quiet time for her. So no matter how big of the holiday it is, we try to keep that time, and that's why I kind of start the live streaming at 9 o'clock all the time. It's the time that everybody should be in their room. They don't have to sleep. I don't have to sleep, but it's the time to start preparing for the night. So because today is the Thanksgiving, I did not bring the topic. Well, I usually don't bring the topic either, but so I hope that you can bring some of the things together to stitch, and it's not gonna be that long. Stitch together, talk about something. Oops. It is very important for me to stitch no matter what happens. I have been stitching every day for that matter, actually. It's very interesting to for like some people may think that I'm stitching every day naturally, but when I needed to kind of establish some of the foundation of what I do, I prioritize teaching over doing Sashiko. It's very, 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 very fortunate to have those foundation right now that I don't have to focus on teaching right now. I have the last workshop I had in 2023 was in October, so almost 3 months I don't have any workshop, and which is quite unusual. I think it might be the first time since I started teaching. So it's really, really good. It's very fortunate that I can stitch. I'm not stitching this pattern while I'm not on live because I don't have to talk. But I do have some teaching opportunities next year, 2024. The first one is actually in New York. It's gonna be January 14th. I have to probably write it down somewhere. I will write it down somewhere on the description area, but just let me check that actually. I can check it. It was kind of like a last minute agreement, but she's my friend and we have been doing this. It's the Saturday, January 13th in the thimble, Brooklyn. That's a one-day workshop. I usually ask the organizer to have about half year or even 1 year to prepare for the workshop. It is very important to understand what they want to do, and we wanted to have enough time to explain what I'm going to offer to the people around there. So it is kind of irregular to have to organize the workshop in that short time of period. But she's the friend. We have been working together, and this is the fourth time or third time I do workshop with her. So it's not really something we have to worry about. I know how it's gonna be, and I'm happy that I can go back to the Brooklyn. As usual, I cannot keep up with hearing, but I am carrying the needle while listening. That's good. It's not a microphone error, right? It's just your situation, I hope. Should I get the better microphone from the Black Friday deal? What is going to be a good thing to buy from Black? I came to the US in 2001. No, September 11 was 2001. So I came to the US in 2002. Am I correct? Yeah, I think that was 2002. And back then, the Black Friday was not like this today. We had internet, we had computers, but there were no Skype back then. Skype was a little later, I believe. So I had to use the phone card, international phone card, to make a phone call to my family. There's a 16-digit numbers to type in, and you have to purchase that. That was a very interesting, probably no one. The student today will never understand that you have to go to the phone, like a public phone, to use that phone card to make an international phone call. That's a very good memory. I don't want to go back there, but that's a good memory. And back then in 2002, 3, 4, Black Friday, I cannot say what that word, Black Friday, or that sale itself was actually at the door. You had to go to the store, you had to wait outside in the very cold winter. I mean, not, winter, but around this time it can be quite cold. And then wait for the door open around like 4 or 5 or 6. Wow. No, well, probably they offer it right now, but I don't think people actually do that so much. In fact, I start seeing the advertisement for the Black Friday in the previous weekend, last weekend. So I don't know what it means, but it is a good time to shop, I guess. So I don't know if I should buy the microphone. Let's see. I don't do any Black Friday sales on my website because, it does not. My business is too small to offer the big discount. It's better to be honest all the time to offer whatever I can. I used the translation function, but I wonder if it was the correct answer. It is. It's a communicatable, so try to use the translation function, and that's good that we can communicate. Oh, my back hurts. It's happening in Japan too, right? Black Friday is happening in Japan as well. I'm in the same boat. Wow, there are 2 Japanese, probably more than 2 Japanese right now, because it's the Thanksgiving is not gonna happen in Japan. But so you are using the translation function on the live streaming. Like, you can do that. I don't know if you can do it, but like a live translation, or I should probably check that out. It's quite natural. On the other hand, why don't they, other non-Japanese people, use that? Well, probably it's very difficult to do it from Japanese speaking to English. I don't know. But if like the translation got really perfect, I can only offer in one language, which I probably feel much easier. Actually, I don't really have anything to talk about today. I'm not really upset at all. I don't have any like a force or motivation or like a energy to push myself to talk about something specific. Nothing is happening, which is very calm, which is great, and that's very good. But probably I can talk about this. I think, like, fortunately, very thanks to everybody who are here, who spread the word. I have more than 80,000 followers right now on Instagram. That's very more than I can think of. At the same times, I feel that those 80,000 people are a minority group. It sounds very strange because 80,000 cannot be the minority in small crafting industry. At the same time, that's what I feel, because if we switch the platform, let's say from the Instagram to Facebook, what I say is not really the main trend. it's kind of vice versa, because I started teaching, or I started sharing the Sashiko stories because I realized that it's not the main trend. So I realized that I have been the small stone in the big trend, and it has not been bigger than the small or like a medium stone to make whirlpool vortex. I can make vortex probably. I am making some small vortex, but I cannot change the whole flow. And sometimes I misunderstand, and the other people also misunderstand that my voice has more power than how it is. And it is true. Like, it is true that I have more voice than before, and those 80,000 people's willingness to listen to is very, very strong. At the same time, I am still very much in the minority group in terms of speaking up. It's everywhere. It's everywhere that Sashiko has rules, and there's nothing wrong with the rules, but that's, it is really easy for them. It's natural for them to follow the rule, but we have to kind of figure out why there are so many non-Japanese teaching, yet there are not that many Japanese teachers available with a lot of experience. That's something I have to really do. There was a comment on the Instagram saying that it would be great to summarize the stories from other people, and it is very true. I am with that comment. When I write a book, if I were to write a book, I would like to involve as many people's stories as possible. At the same time, there's a little glitch there. There's a little difficulty there. Some of them do not want to share the stories. Some of them do not want to speak up. And that was the majority that they did not speak up. That's the reason I sometimes say it's too late to start, because there's the foundation of my stories. Those who gave me the stories are almost gone. Gone means like gone. We cannot revisit much. So it has to come from my memory, my mother's memory, and try to find somebody who listened to that stories when I was a child. So for that, Reiko-san, I'm sorry for naming that one person. Reiko-san here is one very good important person to sort of validate or make sure that I'm not spinning off from the mainstream of my story. So it is my it is my mission to introduce as many people as possible. At the same time, it is very, very much at the end of the crafting or culture in terms of preserving the original voice. It should have happened 20 years ago. Yet 20 years ago, there was already a different kind of trend starting. So it's too big of the trend, it's too big of the flow to change it. Especially by myself, it's almost impossible to do that. So we need your help. we need your help, and I know you're helping me a lot, and that is really, I cannot ask more. But it's just kind of contradicting, but I cannot ask you more. I don't want to ask you more. At the same time, I need you. It's not a you, it's like you're somebody else, like future you. They as future you. I hope that one day the majority of the people in Sashiko will not talk about the rules. They can talk about rules, but it's not the restriction. I have never met any Sashiko artisans who openly criticize somebody's mistake. They talk about behind that. So let's say one Sashiko may have rule. They might have a rule for their group, for their community. And it is very important to understand their rules. And if I were to go to their place to learn what Sashiko is, I'm supposed to follow that rules. And if I don't follow that rule, they can criticize me, or they will criticize me. And I can learn, or I decide I can also leave that group. But they know that it's not a universal rules. It's their rules to follow. So they will not go to another organization or another community to say like, well, you're doing something wrong. That's why the Sashiko's culture are balanced for like 60 years, 70 years without any big dispute. So it is, they do have their own rules, but it was normal. Majority did not talk about it openly much. It was more like a, I don't want to say taboo, but close to, it's not the courtesy to talk about it, to judge the others in their field. If somebody else come to our field, our community, our distance, it is okay to criticize, but not others. So the trend right now I see as if that there are one specific definitive rules is very unlike this. It's not the Sashiko I'm used to, I'm familiar with. I hope that one day, even in English, that trend will shift. Not even shift, it's more like coming back to that. But we have to also understand why as well. Like, why are there rules? Why did they make so strict rules? Well, there's an answer for that. Because that's easy to market. That's easy to it's easy to transform Sashiko as the business. And that's what my family also tried to do. And we did. And we do have a goal, or not a goal, we did have a rules, and we do still have rules, and I teach them in my workshop, but at the same time, it's like a unspoken agreement or undocumented or unspoken agreement, how do you call that? 暗黙の了解。暗黙の了解。暗黙の了解? Unspoken understanding, like it's really the mutual understanding without even mentioning that we do have rules, but it's not the universal rule. Does it make sense? It was very, very, very important. We did have rules, but we did not have the universal rule, because when we make a universal rule, we have to exclude others. Anybody who is not following that rule can be outsider. In another word, by defining one rule, one correct rule, they're defining the others as the wrong rules. So that will create a lot of fuss, dispute, hassle, probably angry discussion and argument. We never, as long as I know, we did not have those arguments, especially in public, not like this on the YouTube or, Instagram. So it is already very, very different. The Sashiko itself is very, very different from what I know in English. And it takes a long time to talk about it, because Western, I just summarize it roughly, like, but the Western mindset, there's rules should be always there. The answer, the correctness should be always there, and as the result, it is very difficult for them to even understand that there's a world or even concept, philosophy, mindset, practice without the actual rule. I forgot the towel. Same boat is the idiom that I should probably use in this. I should probably use Japanese, but I'm gonna try my best to explain that in English. This in the same boat means that we are on the same side, or we are on the same page. We are doing the same thing. We are standing on the same understanding. We share the same value. Those are the meaning of same boat. Yeah, it can be used as we are standing on the same side. We are on the same page. I think that's the other idioms that we can use. Hello, Shinobu-san. Arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, little bit break. Little bit of break. There might be a ad coming on soon, so I, instead of waiting for the unexpected moment, I will stream the ad, so you might find the ad soon or later. You might not, you may. Okay. Anmoku no ryokai. そうね。So unspoken 暗黙 silent or tacit. Wow, I don't know the word. Tacit, or unspoken plus understanding. So I think unspoken understanding, unspoken agreement would be, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. I cannot believe that it has been 30 minutes already. Stitching is time eater, so be careful with that. The more you stitch, the younger we get. That is our hypothesis to see that. It might be true, it might be wrong. Just a second, I cannot pick the thread, does not come off easily. It got tangled with my earphone. It's quite, I'm really happy, and I really appreciate the Japanese people coming to this English live streaming. Today is like a very significant day because I don't think not many people from the US are here because it's Thanksgiving. I'm not saying none. I saw somebody, I saw Adrien, and sorry if I missed somebody. Adrien, and also Carrie, and yep. But yeah, it's really nice to have a Japanese viewer here who is willing to understand this live streaming in English. It is very, very, very important as well. I appreciate it. At the same time, it is very, very important for me to make sure that I am not hallucinating. I am not living in the dream. Like, you don't know me. You don't know me well. Like, some of you have met me here, so you know that I exist. At the same time, if you have not met me in person, I can be anybody, right? It can, like, I did not go back to Japan for 10 years until this 2013 April. So I had many Japanese friends throughout the Sashiko workshop and Sashiko live streaming, but none of them have met me actually. So they knew that I exist, but at the same time, it was not 100% sure. So it was really important for us to meet in person together to make sure that I exist. You exist. Hi, Ty, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. So I exist. I think I exist. That's more philosophical question, but for me, it is really important to make sure that what I say is not my own hallucination is probably the word for that. Like, I say that there is no rules in Sashiko, right? There's no rules in Sashiko. There are rules in Sashiko, yet there is no universal rules in Sashiko. This can be my hallucination too. I can be making it up. I know the internet can be a very scary place for that. Anybody can say anything. So those who say Sashiko has a rule, they don't know what they are talking about. That's why they can say that. But they can sound it's very, very truthful, very accurate, because that's what the audience want to hear. So for me, it is very, very important to have some Japanese people like Tsuchiko-san here. Thank you so much for being here. Who understand both language and who has lived in the US or in another country, Western countries for 30 years, for 40 years. That is a very, very, very appreciated balancer. If I have become somebody completely crazy, they will mention that. Either they will mention that, I hope they will mention that, or they will not come to me anymore. And I always ask that in my Japanese live streaming to help me to realize if something bad happens. But it is also very important for the Japanese people to communicate in English, not only in Japanese, so that the other people can understand the significance of the, what we talk in Japanese. Translation can be very, very tricky because I keep saying that in this year, but translation can be somebody's interpretation. And when we interpret that translation, it can be interpretation of translation of interpretation. There's 3 steps, and that is a little too much to be true, like 100% true. As a Japanese living in the US for 30 years, I understand your feeling. I often feel confused, frustrated, and got lost. Yeah. I would say that Tsuchiko-san and I are quite in between. I think it's safe for me to say that. I'm sorry if it's not true, but as much as we try to be Japanese, by living in another country for that long, that can change a lot of mindset. So there are like 3, in the big picture, there are 3 groups of the people who I would like to make sure that I am doing okay. with. One group is the Japanese who live in Japan. And ideally, if they can understand English, that's great. But the Japanese who lives in Japan, I need to make sure that what I say is somewhat understandable to them. And that's the main reason. That's the main reason I keep doing the Sashiko live streaming in English, not in Japanese. Sorry. And the second category is really, really rare. It's not that easy to find, but those are the Japanese who are living in like Western culture for like many years, or the Western people who live in Japan for many years. Either way is fine. But that is one category. But this category is really, really rare. So it's kind of difficult to find. But it's when I encounter, that's I really appreciate that and I value those answers. And the third category is the people who enjoy Sashiko in English or in any other languages for that matter. So I'm trying to be like a bridge between, and in order to maintain that bridge, the middle person and those who understand Japanese and English are very much appreciated. So like today is probably one of those. Salvage magazine Salvage magazine article on you and Sashiko brought me here. The emphasis on making clothes last longer is still a strong message, confronting all the waste in the garment industry. Yep, it's one of the if you don't know the Salvage magazine article, I think it's available online, I think. And it's one of the it's weird to say, but one of the I think most well-written article about me. So it's beautiful, right? Look, it's beautiful writing. So I can probably find it and make a list. I mean, make a link here. But yeah, if you can search for that, that's great. Like, it's really interesting that what I say has not been changed at all. And many big media has actually picked me up, and it's really appreciated, but I am still not in the mainstream, which is understandable because they don't want me to be the mainstream because that's not what the audience is looking for. But things are changing little by little. What I wrote on the Salvage magazine, as well as what I said in BBC, those are kind of linked. So I hope that my message is gonna be there somewhere. The emphasis on, yeah. So this might be a little bit of like mind food, but when we talk about recycling and no waste, there are two ways to think about it. One way is to kind of think focusing on the past. So we made a lot of waste until today. So how can we recycle it? How can we recycle it so that we can reduce the waste we made? So we can focus on the past. And I think that's probably the more popular way to consider the waste. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, for Sashiko, for that thinking about, for the perspective of thinking about the past, how we can reduce the waste or recycle the waste is the secondary. We do have that, but sometimes it's very, very secondary. The first primary purpose of Sashiko is toward the future, not to the past. So we have this much fabric. How can we use this fabric mindfully and wisely? That's purely because they didn't have enough other, they did not have other fabric for the replacing it. But that's the principle. So mending is very important part of Sashiko, and it's very beautiful culture. But at the same time, that does not explain the whole picture of Sashiko. And some people say that Sashiko is the word for the visible mending. Oh, that's one way to completely misuse the word. It can be. Sashiko can be a form of visible mending, but not the word to describe that. And that person will probably not change his mind, so, well, that's unfortunate. I don't know how one person can believe the other person so, like one single person so strongly. I don't know why they can believe only one trend so strongly without the people from that original countries. I don't really understand that. At the same time, probably that's what it is right now. I may have done that same thing in Japan. Okay. Sorry, my brain's getting a little bit fried because of all the cookings I did today. So I will wrap it up a little bit earlier today. After this much thread, I will wrap it up. So I'm glad that I could talk about the future and past today. Past and future. Your message spoke to me, respect of our ancestors and their way of life. Grateful how you convey this. Thank you. I'm trying. I am trying. It's a rough way, but I am trying. So today's the Thanksgiving, and then tomorrow is the sort of so-called Black Friday, which probably started like a week ago. If I didn't this year, I didn't see anything, and until this year, I have not seen that. But if there's any like a Black Friday deal for Sashiko product, then that's the kind of toward the end of the boom. That's too much. Sashiko is getting popular right now, but still it's until where those who likes hand stitching, quilting, or crafting, or who cares about fashion, denim, textile. Those people who likes textile and everything, it's boom, it's trend among those people. But if it has become like a trend for everybody, like a Black Friday deal, I hope it's not gonna go that far, but the trend is not something we can control, because trend is, of course, made by manufacturer or like those people who try to sell. They do advertisement and marketing. Those two words, advertisement and marketing, are causing the trend. Not causing. They use those two elements to create a trend, to promote the business. At the same time, there's one element that they have to completely understand, that is the understanding of the customers, or even many other majority of people are looking for. Of course, like Steve Jobs or bigger people, like very, very famous, very, very powerful people, can change the mindset of the customers or end users. But I hope I can do that, but that's a very, very, very almost impossible job to do it. So like ordinary people like me, mediocre people like me, have to think about how I can modify my message so that they can listen without changing the core. I did not want to do it, but I am changing myself a little bit, that I may have to change it. That's why I keep repeating the same messages, which I did not want to. but this is something I have to do to deliver the message. I don't want to do it. I probably get tired and may stop doing that. But it is us who choose what we want. And we are still the minority here. Those who cares what it is really aren't the majority of this world. We don't have to know where one thing comes from, because we can use it like almost free, or like even with very little cost we can use pretty much everything. So like it's like water in front of you. You can use the water almost unlimited, because there's technologies and there's always the upstream. We will not realize how important it is to have the upstream until we lose it. But when we lose it, it's too late. And we sometimes think that there's no such a thing as losing the upstream. So there will be always the water, and probably that is true in most cases. But it doesn't mean that there's no risk. And we have to understand that there are many, many other people who try to protect that upstream directly and indirectly. So acknowledgement is, well, if we can make infrastructure like water, that's probably a different story. But when it comes to culture, it's us, it's you who can make a big, big difference. Okay. Right now, I wasn't planning to talk about this kind of serious talk today. I was gonna make it kind of light, but I'm happy that I could come here for the Thanksgiving night. I wasn't sure if I could, like, what if we invite some friends, which we did not have to this year. We sometimes, last year we didn't have, the COVID. Yes, the COVID changed all the routine. We used to, before the COVID, we used to have a party, but COVID changed that, and we kind of enjoyed the family dinner in those 3 years. It became like a routine right now. So, yes, we did not invite anybody, and that's why I said like I could do the live streaming tonight. And it's good that I could do live streaming tonight, and I hope that I can do it next day as well. Again, we don't know that yet. It's a Thanksgiving, and I will prioritize my family. So if they decided to go somewhere, if they decided to invite somebody, that's a different story. Well, I'm the one who cooks, so yeah, I have to I have to be there. I have to be here. I can do a live streaming without any issues tomorrow morning. I think my daughter might be here running around, but it's not a problem for 1 hour or so. For the Japanese live streaming, it's gonna be tomorrow morning in the US time, 8:40-ish. In Japan time, today, Friday, 10:40 at night. So it's gonna be late in Japan, but that'd be great if you could come over that. Okay. I think that's about it. Do we have any announcement? Just let me check that. Do we have any announcement? I don't think I do have any announcement. Oh, yes, I do have one announcement. I briefly mentioned about that, but I do have, sorry. In 2024, I have a series of workshop which I planned like almost a year ago. And in addition to that, I recently added one workshop in Brooklyn. So one is in January 13th in Thimble, Brooklyn. It's going to be 1-day workshop. It's going to be core and essence, which I ask everybody to take it before doing anything. Like that's the workshop I ask anybody to take. That's the same as online Sashiko class. And after that, it's gonna be Florida 3 days workshop, and that include, of course, core and essence, so you don't have to take both. And then QuiltCon, which has the same workshop. And what else? That's about it for now. Yeah, I will update the website. But if you could come over to my website to check what's going on. QuiltCon is sold out, and please try to, if you wish to be there in North Carolina, Rowley. Sorry if I'm not correct in pronunciation. Please contact the QuiltCon, yeah, Modern Quilt Guild, for the possibility of putting you in the wait list. Florida, probably, as long as I know, there's 1 seat or 2 seats left. And everything else, I will keep updating that. So that was the announcement for the workshop. I did not have that many workshops in 2023, and I was really fortunate to meet some of you here probably, who took my workshop. I really appreciate that. At the same time, I very much focused on stitching this year. So, and I may I may focus on stitching again next year toward the end, but I usually have the Florida workshop as well as the QuiltCon in the beginning of the year, and that's more like a routine, and that's really appreciated for that too. So if you can catch those timing, that's great. I don't really, it's not like every week or every month workshop. I offer a workshop very irregularly, sometimes not more than 6 or 7 times in my understanding, maybe more. I don't know if I have done more, but I tried to kind of control that too. All right, if you have any questions about Sashiko technique, please check other YouTube videos. If you have any other questions about Sashiko story, cultural perspective, or what do I think about that, those cultural perspective, you can leave the comment here. If you're watching this as the archive, please leave the comment so I can probably mention that in the next live streaming. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. That'd be great if you could click the good button. Again, for some reason, I did not have that troll for a few months, but she came back, or he came back. So if you could click the good button, it's gonna be very helpful for me to keep this channel's health. And yeah, that's great. That's about it. Thank you so much for coming to the live streaming, and I hope that you have a nice Thanksgiving day, the rest of the night. Don't do too much shopping on the Black Friday. I will check the microphone, but I probably gonna go to sleep. All right, and I hope you have a good night. Bye bye. Just a second. I will do that. Just a second. Just a second. Okay. I will see you next week. Have a good night. Bye.